So what is your company's risk appetite? You might have already gone there and said, so we're going to explore that in this section. So take a look. This is a basic concept of risk management, and we'll revisit this picture image and set you up for some polling questions and some definitions in just a minute. But what we have here is a classic 2x2 graph. On the left, the y-axis is what we call the level of risk appetite from low to high. On the x-axis on the bottom is the reward associated with taking a risk, again, from low on the left to high on the right-hand side. And so we color code them in the 2x2. So let's start down at the bottom right quadrant, all right? It's somewhat desirable, a little risk there, but it's got a high reward. So not a bad spot to operate in. Going up on the top left, we have it color coded like a heat map. It could be considered undesirable. Why? Because there's a high risk and a low reward. And then, excuse me, you have folks operating in every one of these quadrants. You might say, well, why do companies operate in different quadrants? Like, why would you be up in the top left? Companies do operate in all four of these quadrants for a myriad of reasons, whether it's product, industry, specifications, competition, and so forth. So, the net is, before we move on, the dotted lines are what we call theoretical risk frontiers, and we'll talk about them in a minute. All right, so we just wanted to set up the discussion on risk perspectives and risk appetite and risk strategies with a picture image. Okay, next. With that said, with that background, our group participation exercise is going to go kind of like this, all right? We have 4 risk perspectives that are generally agreed upon in the pure risk profession, all right? And so we want you to pick, as we go through these 4, we want you to pick or write down what you feel represents your company's risk perspective today. So let's go through the 4 quick definitions. First and foremost is something we call pragmatists. These folks think the future is very unpredictable, which it is. Thus, they avoid commitments and keep all options open to the maximum extent. They're not big believers of strategic planning. They focus more on effective response and flexibility. Next, there's something called conservators. Here, increasing profit is not as important as avoiding a loss. In this arena, many of the companies feel the world is filled with many, many dangerous risks, which it is, and that these risks must be careful. They must be very careful to avoid these risks. There's conservators. Next, managers. Careful to balance risk and reward. This view employs experts like Greg and Jim to help find the risks that offer the best rewards while managing those risks to ensure sustainability and viability. All good. Last one. Maximizers. This perspective doesn't consider risk to be as important as profits. Businesses will accept large risks as long as they are well compensated. Managers believe in this area that gains will always follow losses, and the best companies will have larger gains and smaller losses over time. So those are our 4 risk perspectives that we would like you to identify one in our polling, which we will get to in a minute. Those are the 4 perspectives. Next slide are the 4 risk strategies that tend to support the perspectives we just talked about. And we'd like you to identify one of these four as well based on what you've witnessed or see in your organization. Let's go through these definitions. Loss controlling, most traditional form of risk management. It seeks to identify and mitigate the firm's most significant risks. They often seek to get everyone involved. We call that consensus. It's favored by the conservators. It's good for managing risks that are what we call acute and severe. Next, risk steering. All decisions go through very rigorous analysis. Decisions are driven by careful cost-benefit and risk-reward calculations. It is called the true ERM approach, and it's favored by academics and consultants. We cannot tell a lie. We use this a lot. It's particularly appropriate for complex risk portfolios, and that's why we use it, because most of our supply chains folks are very complex networks. Next, diversifying. Spread the exposure among various classes of risk and avoid large concentrations in the same class. They like to spread these risks across many classes with acceptable targets and a focus on interdependencies of those risks. It's kind of favored by the pragmatists because it maximizes their flexibility. It's good for risks that are highly uncertain. And the last definition, risk accepting. It's favored by financial firms attempting to get the price of risk correct. A lot of complicated models analyzing risk, reward, cost, benefit. It's mostly done by transaction or with large projects. It's favored by the maximizers. So we've given you 4 risk perspectives and 4 risk strategy definitions. And now we'd like to go to the polling.
All right, so for the polling, if everyone would turn on your phone or open up your phone and go to your text window and enter in a new person or a new contact. And that new contact is 2233. And then once you open that new contact, then text in that new phone number, 2233, Greg Schlegel 910. And Schlegel is SCHLEGEL. So lots of E's, no A's. So you got Greg Schlegel with a bunch of E's and the number 910. So once you do that, get through all of that, you can vote.
Yep, have at it, folks.
And then if you don't like what you voted, you can hit the word clear and you say, oh, I didn't mean that.
Yep, good. We'd like to see everyone get involved. Again, basically, if you're in consulting, think about your most recent or existing client. You're just looking to see what profile we might view from the audience.
Don't be shy. Your boss isn't watching.
That's true. And again, if you want to post another type of answer, just enter the word clear and you can start again.
So we'll give it another minute while folks get their cell phones working. From our crowd, it probably takes longer than the younger crowd.
Well, as an academic, a little levity here as well. We always tell the audience to turn their phones off at the beginning of a workshop or a lecture. So a little counterintuitive. So appreciate your commitment to filling in the graph.
So I thought we'd just bounce back to the definitions real quick, Greg.
Go ahead.
Response. Does it sound like we had pragmatists and maximizers?
Yeah, I think we might have had one conservator as well. Again, remember, folks, there's no right or wrong answer. It's very much driven basically on the culture of your organization. To be honest with you, so there's no right or wrong answer. We like to give you an opportunity to render an opinion on the risk perspective. And that's fine. Maybe we can move on to our second polling question, Jim. And we talked about the perspective. Now we ask you, and again, if you can clear your screens if you got through, what is your opinion regarding your company's risk strategy? We gave you the perspective, and then these are the strategies that tend to support those perspectives. So if you can take a minute or two and basically enter what you think your company's strategies have been. There's one on risk accepting. See if we can get anyone else to render an opinion about what you may or may not have seen through, excuse me, through your company.
I will go back to the slide so they can review the definitions. That might help.
Yeah, we apologize. Normally we do this with the definitions in front of folks, like in a workshop or with clients. So appreciate going back, Jim, and giving people a sense.
All right.
So again, no right or wrong answer, folks. It's just it's an opinion based on your observations. That's good. We got a few different profiles coming through.
Looks like we have a lot of diversity in the group. That's good.
All right, so we appreciate you attempting to give us and render your opinion, and we want to, we will share the definitions after the session as well. So thank you very much. Remember, there's no right or wrong answer. We just wanted to get you engaged a little bit after we gave you the definitions of risk perspective and risk strategy.